This is the Mk7 Golf R, and at the time of its release, it was one of the best all-wheel drive hot hatches you could buy. Is it still good in 2021? In this video, we will be reviewing it. If you haven't yet, please subscribe as we really appreciate it. And most of all, please enjoy the video. My name is Ethan, and welcome to Car Creations. Alright, let's take a look at the most important part of this car. This car has a 2-liter turbocharged engine. Torque figures at 280, producing 296 horsepower. This car comes in 2 transmission options, so you can get the dual clutch automatic or you can get the 6-speed manual. And this owner opted for the 6-speed manual for maximum fun. And believe me, this car is indeed fun. So let's start with the exterior. So the exterior is very obviously a Golf. It would take a second glance to see whether or not this car was something special. And for some people, this could be a negative, because if you're going to spend this kind of money on a performance hot hatch, you want it to look something special. And the Civic Type R or the Mini JCW or even the Audi RS3 looks something special, whereas this car, it still kind of looks like a Golf. However, for some people, this is actually a positive thing. The thought of a sleeper that can catch other sports car drivers unaware appeals to a lot of people, and this car definitely does that. So let's take a look around the outside. So the Golf R has more of an aggressive grille, and it has this chrome line that runs to the front of the bumper, and it gives it a little bit more of an aggressive look, as well as this little R badge right there. You might notice down here that we have the cruise control distance sensor cut out of the grille, and actually looks kind of out of place with the grille literally cut open so it could pop out of there. In the newer Mk8 Golfs, that does look a lot better, but currently with this one, we have to put up with this sensor sticking out the front of the grille. So let's go around to the sides of the car, to the wheels. So if we come over here, the owner has slammed it right to the ground, as well as they have these aftermarket rims on it, which do actually look quite good. Something to look at here is the big brakes that these cars have. And those brakes are super good at helping you stop instantly and cutting down some of that speed that you would quickly gain from this car. And then coming around to the back, this is the biggest giveaway that this car is something special. And that's with these quad exhausts along the back. You also have another R badge, and basically that's the only difference between the back end of this and any other Golf. And then the last piece that separates this and other Golfs on the outside, go up and look up here, we have somewhat of a boot spoiler. All right, so I'm super excited to actually get in and drive this thing, but before we do that, let's just take a quick look at the interior. Before we start the interior, I just want to say this car is a commuter car, so it is a little bit dirty. All right, so when I first get in here, you get into the seats, and they're very grippy and very quite comfortable actually, and I actually really like them. On the downside of them, they do look a little bit basic, and they don't have some of the Alcantara that a lot of other hot hatches might have on the seats. But other than that, they are very comfortable, and I do like them. All right, so first we come to the steering wheel, and it's very sporty, has a nice sliced off bottom of it, and with piano black. With this car having 127,000 kilometers on it, this is what piano black is going to look like after a while. It gets all these little smudges and dirt all over it. So although piano black does make the interior of this look very modern, at the same time, it also easily gets dirty, and you're going to have to really keep up with it if you want it clean. Let's just take a look at the entertainment system. It is touchscreen, and it does look quite modern. So let's just take a little look around here. So this is the maps, and it does have that, instead of more of a glossy finish, it has more of a matte finish like other touchscreens from 2016. You can't control the entire thing with just the touchscreen. You have to make use of these shortcut buttons on the edge, at least from my initial playing around with it. But in all, it's pretty modern still, even in 2021. One of the best things that this car has is Apple CarPlay. So with Apple CarPlay, it'll bring your car into 2021, as Apple CarPlay is updated whenever Apple updates it, as opposed to when Volkswagen decides to update it. So it does look very modern when you connect your phone. The only downside is that you have to connect it with a cable, and it's not wireless. This car still has the analog gauges, and they do look quite cool. 1 or 2 years newer, you would get the digital dash up here, but for a very analog feeling that the rest of this car, analog gauges look amazing. The rest of the car feels very Volkswagen-like, with everything else being very similar to what a normal Golf would have. Before we go on the road, let's take a quick look in the back to see how much room you have back there. All right, so let's get in the back here. Lots of room to stick your feet under here. Lots of room between your knees and the front seat, but it's very basic still, once again back here, and it's very similar to other Golfs. The only downside about the materials in here is that you do have a lot of cheap plastics on the doors. This car isn't really about the interior, it's about driving. All right, so let's get this car on the road and see what it's like to drive. The Mk7 Golf can do 0 to 60 in 5.1 seconds. So we're just gonna launch it and see what that feels like. Hold up acceleration. Let's do the 0 to 60 launch. Bogs down slightly. That wasn't the cleanest one in the world, but it still gives you a good idea of the power. If you got used to this car, I'm sure you'd have a ton of fun with it. If you want to do a lot of launches, a lot of 0 to 60s, a lot of straight sections, or a lot of highway driving, or if you want to take the car to the track, I would suggest go to the dual clutch transmission. But if you a lot of twisty roads like this manual transmission is amazing. I love it. As soon as the front slips out, the rear all-wheel drive kicks in, and it just helps pull you around the corner, and it gives you a lot of confidence to drive this car fast on twisty roads. Around corners, this car is a ton of fun, especially when you get into the manual. You can just like go up and down throughout gears, and it doesn't have auto rev match, so everything's very manual in this car, and you can play with your heel and toe. And speaking of heel and toe, the way the pedals are laid out, it's very easy to do heel and toe. It's even with my big clumpy runner, you can easily hit the gas pedal when you're trying to do it. See? Look at that. So smooth. This car is so much fun. You can turn off all the assists, skid around corners, but we're not going to do that right now because we're being grown up. This car is lowered, so the ride is quite a bit more harsh, but it's not terrible. You just have to be careful that you don't hit a bump in the wrong way. Because of the big turbo in this car, you feel nothing and suddenly you get the torque all at once after around 2,500 RPM. But after you do hit the turbo, the power is pretty linear all the way up to the RPMs. So I'll just show you that here. Let's just refresh down. So we're at around 25,000 RPM. When I go, now it's linear. If you want a car that's pure performance, I would say this is the car that you need to get. It puts the power to the road perfectly. Gives you confidence that you need to push it through corners. Gives you confidence that you need to have a ton of fun on back roads like this. And then as soon as you get to the brakes are amazing. They slow you down like instantly. However, because the steering wheel is a little bit, it's not as direct as, say, my personal Mini JCW or the Civic Type R. And then also the gearbox doesn't feel as precise as one might want. And even the exhaust with the factory muffler isn't too loud. It does pump a lot of exhaust noises through the speakers. So this car, because of that, the car is quite grown up, and it's meant for people who are serious about simply driving and for performance, people who need both practicality as well as performance. However, that's not to say you couldn't make this car fun. I've seen videos online of people who modded the exhaust and made this car sound absolutely insane. I've seen people who set this car up so you can drift around corners or give it the power to beat high-end supercars. And if that's what you want to do, get this car because it's the perfect platform to take it to the next level and have a ton of fun with it. All right, so now as we're getting onto the highway here, we'll get to see a little bit more of its practicality. So we turn off sports mode, and immediately it's a lot more comfortable. So your steering wheel gets a little more loose. The track's really easy on the highway. The suspension is a lot softer. You're not worried about bumps as much. Although this car, because it's lowered, I'm still worried about bumps. And if you drive sensibly, you can get up to 34 to 39 miles per gallon, which is insane. That's where the Golf part of Golf R comes out. It can be amazing on gas if you're driving sensibly. As for reliability, this car is amazing long term too. This car has 127,000 kilometers on it, and the owners had little issues whatsoever. Cruise control works quite well. It's easy to set. All you have to do is hit set, and then you can choose your kilometer that you want. You can set the distance that you want it to follow the car in front. That's really cool. I didn't expect it to have that. Alright, so what's our conclusion with this car? And does this car still make sense in 2021? Well, I would say yes. Both thumbs up. It's an amazing car and so much fun to drive. You can tune it up and down back roads, you can mod it to be as fast as supercars. It's an amazing platform, and if you're looking for a car that's both practical to live with as well as a car with lots of performance, then this is definitely the car for you. It's not the most funnest hot hatch on the road. I would say that my JCW or Civic Type R might be slightly more fun. However, this car does everything a lot better than either of those cars could do. Alright, so that's our video today. We hope you enjoyed. If you did, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe. We would really appreciate it. And leave us a comment what you think of this car or what other cars you would get. Hope you all have an amazing day, happy motoring, and we'll see you all in the next one. I barely breathe. It smells like a campfire. It is a campfire. The entire BC is a campfire. Yeah, there's fires everywhere.
BC
it's ridiculous.
Is a fire.
It's burning
BC.
down.
There's just like BC, and everybody else is like, ooh, nice and warm.
So if you guys are getting smoke where you are, it's most likely from where we are.
Yes, no matter where you are, even if it's apparently smoke from here is reaching Europe. I don't know if that's true.
Gracious.